What's up, buttercups? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, your bald and beautiful host, Brian McWilliams. I just realized I'm wearing a very old shirt today, and if you're watching the video, it's it's quasi-transparent. That's how old this shirt is. I'm a true man, or at least a true man born at the very, very end of 1979, and I still wear my shirts until they have holes in them and are falling apart. So that's what we got on today. But I'm going to do a little bit of a later show this week, as you might have noticed, coming in a day late and a little later today because there is a flu ravaging my neighborhood, and I think a lot of the country with kids. I'm hoping I don't get it. Both my kids are homesick today, and I'm going to try to make this a little faster because I don't know when they're going to wake up. I've got one down for a nap, and my wife is out with the other one, but she'll be going home soon. So we'll just jump into it. I did a live stream along with some people for the Libertarian Party yesterday, Dave Benner, and also with Kyle Anzalone of the Libertarian Institute, along with Stephen Nicalia, our chair of the LNC. And we talked through a lot of what's going on in the Iran war currently. I mean, it's one of those things that's shocking to watch how it unfolded. And I believe it's all a little bit of a haze because I was in and out of town doing stuff. But it's, we heard this war delivered to us under the premise. And by the way, it is a war. It's an unconstitutional abomination. The Congress are full of cowards who refuse to rein in the president's powers. The War Powers Act, to try to rein this in, voted down by Republicans and Democrats alike. Republicans who ran on the premise of keeping us out of wars. Donald Trump, who once again has proven to be a huge disappointment in his presidency, promising things that he has not delivered on. The spending goes up. The wars continue. This is an absolute war. We have got 50,000 known troops deployed within the Middle East for this conflict specifically. That doesn't mean these are boots on the ground. Now, that's a possibility. I wouldn't count it out. It would be foolish to do that, knowing that we've got a mountainous terrain, just like in Afghanistan, knowing how difficult it would be to go in there. But you've got 50,000 troops right now who are actively in that region, bombing, supporting, God knows what else, under the auspices of an action that we were forced into per Marco Rubio. And of course, this was walked back by Trump, but per Marco Rubio, specifically saying, we knew Israel was going to attack regardless. And so we had to go in and help them in this joint operation. So that, that, if you simply read between the lines, and you don't have to do that much reading between the lines, that simply says we are handcuffed to this nation, which no American citizen has pledged an allegiance to. Well, we know that quite a few people in D.C. have. We know quite a few people working with AIPAC, which is a foreign lobbyist institution. We know that their true allegiance lies with Israel. But American citizens have not pledged allegiance to this foreign nation, yet we're being forced into a very, very dangerous conflict, which has very large ramifications, especially when you consider the amount of infrastructure in China that depends on Iranian oil. When you look at the relationship between Russia and Iran, the fact that Russia and China are providing at least surface level intelligence to Iran about different locations of American battle stations, missile launchers, etc., to aid this conflict. And of course, you've got people in the United States saying, I can't believe, Russia and China are helping Iran. No, duh. What do you think they're going to do? We've been helping Ukraine all this time with the exact same information in the war between Ukraine and Russia, which we're, of course, spending American dollars on, despite the fact that no American citizen has pledged allegiance to Ukraine. But you have a situation where American citizens are dying in a conflict for which none of us had any say over. Congress did not have a say over this, even though clearly so many of them are cowardly, so many of them are owned, paid for by Israel, or at least so terrified of AIPAC and the public relations, machine guns that be turned upon them, that they're simply allowing this to happen. And you've got a conflict where, as I mentioned, 50,000 people are already invested in it. You've got a situation, as Kyle Anzalone laid out yesterday, where we cannot match the demand that exists for our weaponry because we are continuing to go in these conflicts, which creates its own risks. Because if you're Russia, if you're China right now, we are in an exceptionally weak position militaristically. We're spread out on two fronts because we're providing so many armaments, so much emphasis and so much support for Ukraine. Meanwhile, we are engaged in a war with Iran where we're blowing things up. We're launching missiles. We're risking ships. We're losing aircraft. We can't keep up. We don't have enough capacity to manufacture weapons to keep our weapons stockpile high enough were we actually to get into a real war with a big country. Now, the other thing to think about, too, is that they're proclaiming all of these victories, right? Oh, well, we blew up this and we blew up that and we dropped 10,000 munitions and we destroyed 10,000 targets. We don't know that. I just told you, Iran is mountainous terrain, similar to attacking North Korea. You can say we hit this and that. You don't know for sure if you did diddly squat because they have been planning this. They have been waiting for the attack to come for decades. You don't think that they've gotten hidden stockpiles? You don't think that they expected this, that they built out bunkers, they built out different areas where you're not going to be easy to find them, not easy to hit them? Iran is not weak. It's not in Venezuela you can go in and take control because Iran, not the best thing, but is not a socialist nation that deprived itself through idiotic, abandonment of capitalist principles to becoming a fourth world country so that you can simply go in, kidnap its leader, its dictator, in a simple military operation and have that people go, yay. Now, I would hope the people of Iran would help rise up and overthrow the theocracy, that does oversee them. However, there's a lot of people that depend on that. And there's a lot of very crazy religious nutbags over there that like the Shiite leader there, that do view the Ayatollahs as their number one supreme religious leader. So they're not just going to roll over and they're not just going to have this uprising because we dropped some bombs on them. In fact, it might convince more people that the Ayatollah is right because now we're dropping bombs and murdering children in school with your and my money, with your and my names on those bombs, right, as members of the United States, whether or not we are proud of that fact or not, when we do these types of actions. We now might create more people that are allegiant to the Ayatollah. Not only that, but you've got the question of what are all these other nations around them going to view this as their nations are getting attacked by Iran because they're hosting our bases? Is this going to decide whether or not the alliances in that region shift because the risk there isn't worth it anymore for these nations? The other thing that just came out recently, by the way, in this war is that despite the fact that Iran cannot hit us at home, and there's some nonsense that's saying, a missile might be able to reach. No missiles are coming over here to hit the United States, which is, again, why this doesn't have to happen. This is not a war for the interest of American citizens. This is not a war for the benefit of United States citizens. This is a war that only benefits Israel and the central banking cartels and the weapons manufacturers and the assholes on Capitol Hill that get paid out by this country. That's who it benefits. Because we are so isolated in North America. We have a natural barrier with oceans on both sides. We've got the great north of Canada above us. We've got not South America. We've got Mexico below us. These are natural barriers that keep us safe. And we are very secluded. We're nice and snuggly here, which is why we're able to go on adventurism around the globe, dropping bombs in other nations and not worrying too much about it at home. But this time, there is a danger because there very well may be cells here for terrorist activity. Not only that, but the fact that we've had so many Muslims that have come over that just might have a fondness for the Ayatollah, whether they're Iranian or not, they may decide that they want to take action. There was a instance today, 30 miles from Dearborn, Michigan, which, of course, is a very Muslim town, where a car ran into a synagogue smoking. Apparently, it was intended to blow up. A driver got out. Shots were fired. There's an active shooter in the region. This just happened before I jumped on this live stream. But the question arises whether or not, A, that's a real terrorist attack. Very well could be. Or B, whether that is a false flag attack. And I don't want to discount this if it is, in fact, a real attack. I'm not trying to make light of a situation where people's lives are being put into danger here. But we were also told that we better watch out, especially here in California, right? On the West Coast, which we have a lot of shipping here. Obviously, we have one of the biggest ports in America in Long Beach and San Pedro. We were warned that there may be attacks on the coastal areas in our West Coast cities. Why? Well, because it'll disrupt our shipping. Of course, we're already disrupting the Strait of Hormuz. We're already disrupting the oil flow, which is causing all of our gas prices to go up and everything else as a result of this war, to which Donald Trump, the great populist Donald Trump, told everybody, well, you know what? Suck it up. Thanks. We're going to suck it up again so that Israel can get what they want. But the concept that there may be drone attacks is a very real concept. We saw what's been happening with Ukraine. We saw the technology that exists. You're able to weaponize small drones. This has been around long enough that people have this tech. We saw Israel's ability to use drones in Gaza during that genocide that's ongoing. We have a problem here where you do have a possible threat. The question to me is whether or not, when the FBI, who issued this warning, the FBI issues a warning saying drone attacks could happen, American citizens could be targeted, or at least our ports could be targeted. We talked about false flags. Isn't this the ideal false flag operation? You have a war that's unbelievably unpopular. You have a war that the majority of the United States, I think it's up to 65% or higher, oppose. And that's only going to go up as we see that come home as far as costs and prices raising as this war draws on. And the White House had said, well, you know what? We could see this war going on until September. I think it'll be longer. But what a time if you were going to do a false flag, if you are the FBI, which of course is known for entrapment, is known for setting up its own terrorist attacks by virtue of entrapment, setting people up to undertake these attacks, and then debunking them and diffusing them right on their own. Oh, good job. And then you have testimony from the head of the FBI saying, oh, well, actually, no, we didn't diffuse anything that we didn't set up ourselves. But we have the situation here where with an unpopular war, what makes the most sense if you're the government? Well, maybe we have some little drone attacks and we can say, well, we're not going to do too much damage. We'll have slight explosions. We'll have slight disruptions, just enough to scare people, just enough to give people a little taste of what we're telling them is possible, just enough to try to shift public perception and public opinion so that people are on our side and this war becomes more acceptable, because now it's hit home. Now the monsters in Iran have attacked us on American soil. And like I said, what more perfect way to do it? Not with a missile, not with something that is really dangerous, not as has the capacity to really damage people, but something that they can really control, that they can really, do very, very easily. Think how hard it would be if you're the FBI and you have a drone, you put some explosives on it, you just fly it into one of our ports from inside the country. You don't have to come up from outside to do it. You fly it into the port of Los Angeles and you blow up some tankers. You could probably target old tankers. You could probably give people more than their fair of warning to get out of the way. Maybe one person dies, but you've got yourself an attack on American soil where you could point to it and go, you see, we told you they were coming for us. We told you they were dangerous. We told you we had to take them out before anything more could happen. And that's what we're doing. We're doing it for you. This isn't just for Israel anymore. No, this is for you, American, to protect your life, to protect your freedoms. In the meantime, it's all a sham. Now, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen. I'm not saying it has happened, aka this attack outside of Dearborn. But I'm saying if there was a time for it, if there were a perfect, convenient, custom-tailored method that they're warning us of, which would be the easiest possible thing for our government to do, that's exactly the thing. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So, oh man, thank you, Mike. We got a comment on YouTube saying that I live over an old toxic waste dump. Nobody gets sick as often. Not even his mother, his 86-year-old grandmother with cancer. Look, man, if you've got little kids, they get sick. This is not me. Like half the school is sick right now. What's up to me now is to fend it off. Use my powers, use my mind powers to strengthen my immune system and not get sick. Because I'm not sick yet. I'm not sick yet. Yet. Knock on wood. Okay, so there's my thoughts on Iran. We'll see what unfolds in the coming days. But just like I said, keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. Because if there happens to be a drone attack in the next few days, I would not be shocked to see it. Okay, so moving on. The title of this episode Running Faggot, Running Free. That's the actual title. I had to black out the G's when I put it out there because obviously for things like YouTube, Rumble, well, not Rumble, but YouTube specifically, and Facebook, it might get flagged. Now, what's ironic is that Running Faggot is a sketch from the Kids in the Hall. Now, the Kids in the Hall, as I just told, I was just on another podcast, which I got to talk about Woke Word Wars, my game, which you should all buy a copy of, Woke Word Wars on Amazon. I was just on another show called The Living Joke, which talks about gaming and run by, a good liberal who's willing to have discussions. And I appreciate him having me on the show. But we were talking about what gave me a lot of my comedic sensibilities, right? What led to me to a lot of the sense of humor that I learned and that I've developed over time in the game. And I told him, well, the Kids in the Hall is where I got my first comic sensibilities from. This is a show that was brilliant. It was on, probably early 90s, late 80s. This show was on ABC, main channel, before it was on Comedy Central, and I think it repurposed then in some other formats. But it was on mainstream TV. But this was during a time when you could actually make jokes. You could say faggot on TV, especially if you have a gay man who's the primary character in this sketch, which is Scott Thompson. And Scott Thompson, I want to tell you guys, so much respect for him. He's still out there. He has his, he's very outwardly, publicly gay. And this is before this was very well accepted, but remember the Kids in the Hall. And he's doing sketches which reference gay people, which make fun of gay people and the stereotypes there. But he does it in a way where he's not doing it to teach you a lesson to feel bad about yourself. It's just very funny, very honest comedy. And it harkens back to a time when you can have sketches like Running Faggot, where he is actually, I'm going to play the sketch. I'll play it for a moment. But the time existed where you could have comedy, and The Simpsons is another instance of this, that taught a lesson, but not in a way that was obnoxious. It was comedy making fun of a stereotype and using a foil of a stereotype in order to open people's minds and have them laugh with you. In addition to laughing at you, they're laughing with you. And the fact that you could create comedy that was your friends could mock you because they were your friends. It's a way to make those bonds, to break down the barriers by saying this is a taboo topic that no one's talking about, but we're all going to laugh at it and acknowledge that, yeah, you can make some mean comedy as long as it's fucking funny. And it was. And the Kids in the Hall was transcendent in that. It was dark. It was subversive. It was hilarious. It was creative out the ass. Some of the characters they had on there were just batshit crazy. The chicken lady, there's the final episode of the Kids in the Hall had, it might have been the very last sketch of the whole show. I think it was. It had two guys sitting there, neither of whom were gay, eating a bowl of white stew. And the guy's like, this is good. What is it? And the other guy's like, no, I made it myself. Have some more. And he finally goes, tell me what it is. I got to know. And he goes, it's my very own. And then it cuts out. That's the end of the series. That's the kind of comedy that we're getting back to. I do think we're healing as a culture. And we're getting back. And by healing, I mean, we're scabbing over the damage done by the woke left, which tried to stop anyone from saying anything dangerous or funny or fun. The fun police are finally being put back in the cage. So let me play this sketch, and hopefully, I was having issues with my computer, and I just can't figure it out why I'm getting this weird lag when I'm live streaming. So this is going to be a sketch which was shared, by the way, by a friend of mine and a friend of the podcast. Awesome. Love this gal, Vanessa Chase. And you can follow her at Vanessa Chase OG. But warning, Vanessa is an awesome gal. Used to live here in Los Angeles, is where we became friends. Her feed's a little risque because she used to be an adult actress. So just know that that's a thing. So Scott Thompson shares The Kids in the Hall, Running Faggot, which was made in 1989. And Scott writes over top of this, still running. Only this time, it's from all the humorless queers. Now, think about that. This is a gay man who has been at the forefront of this, especially and during a time, as I said, when it was not popular and accepted as much to be gay. He believes that this sketch is out there. I'm sure he wrote the sketch. He makes a perfect point. He's running from all the humorless queers out there. And that's not just gay people he's talking about. You know who he's talking about. So let's play Running Faggot and appreciate the greatness of Scott Adams, who, by the way, if you guys don't know, Scott Adams also is a friend with Lou Perez, who, of course, is on our podcast network here and a friend of mine. Lou, who's going to be coming out here in April. We're putting together a show. It's going to be either sometime between April 6th and April 10th. I'm trying to find a venue for that show, but he's going to be out here. We're going to do some comedy together. All right. Here we go. Here is Running Faggot. It's only 2 minutes.
Song about a great folk hero. Running free, running free, running faggot, running faggot, running free. See the faggot, see the running faggot, running faggot, running free.
Oh, and I'll pause it so I can tell you what's happening as you're just watching.
Howdy, stripling.
So Scott Thompson is dressed up as kind of like a Daniel Boone. He's got his coonskin cap on and it's very frilly leather, and he's just kind of running in place on a green screen through fields, shit like that.
Howdy, faggot. Well, what can I do for you?
My puppy's hungry. I don't know what to do.
Why not try feeding it puppy food?
Good idea, faggot. Why don't you stick around and see the results?
Nope. Gotta be hitching a ride on the wind.
Running faggot, running free. See the faggot, he fed a puppy. Running faggot, running free.
Howdy, stranger.
Good to see you, faggot.
Well, what seems to be the problem?
Well, I'll let you have it straight. We're surrounded on all sides by about 10,000 angry Indians, and it looks like there's only one way out.
Have you ever thought of talking to them?
Running faggot, running, he's talking the carnage by getting folks a talking, instead of just a squawking and a gawking, mocking and a rocking, running free.
Now, the guys singing that are two of the other members of the cast who are straight, and they're in a church wearing ties, right? So you're seeing this transition between religious, the straight-laced religious people who at the time, of course, were not accepting of LGBTQ, and by the Bible teaching, still are not. But you see how they're making sure that you're seeing the connectivity here between somebody going around that is not accepted, making people's lives better, and how you can laugh at this to make a point and have it be funny at the same time. Something that's just shocking and the left has forgotten.
Yeah! Walking, talking stereotypes. Yeah!
Well, look what we got here.
Got ourselves a pretty little faggot.
Guess we better beat on him.
Guess so.
Running faggot, running free. See the faggot, running from the rednecks. Running faggot, running free. Run, you faggot, run you. Run, you faggot, run you. Run, you faggot, running free.
Godspeed through Texas, faggot.
Vaya con Dios, el faggot.
Oh my God, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. So this is the type of thing we're getting back to. And this is the type of thing that this younger generation, I'm hoping, is going to understand. I think they are. I'm not talking about the queers, the humorless queers in college right now, maybe the freshman generation, but the younger generation, the high schoolers. This is the comedy we have to get back to. This is the type of sense of humor you have to have, where you can laugh at something, even if you're on the side of the faggot, right? Which we all are here. It's hilarious. They're presenting it. You're showing that, yes, there's still bigotry out there, right? You got the rednecks. He runs from the rednecks, but you've got the ability to laugh and talk about it and share and go, hey, did you see that sketch? You got to watch this. And it was on mainstream television. It wasn't censored. It wasn't blacklisted. I don't we'll see if I get demonetized and knocked back for even putting it out there. Who knows? Maybe I'll get slapped down. I think ABC, who originally had the rights, probably has rescinded those by now because they don't want to touch it. So maybe I'll get to play the whole thing and not get knocked back on YouTube. But the point is, you did not get punished for being able to put this type of thought out there. And the fact that it's coming from a mainstream, at the time, sketch comedy group means that these types of words cannot be blacklisted. This type of comedy cannot be blacklisted. And that we have actually, as a society, as we went through this woke nonsense, again, this is why woke word wars, why we created the game, is to make fun of the blacklisting and the blackballing of words and concepts and replacing them with nonsense that no one can keep up with or understand. Trying to cancel people, should they just even try to make this type of comedy. We went backwards as a society. I've seen people talk about the late 80s and the early 90s as the actual pinnacle of American society. And I think there's a lot to that. You had people that were actually talking, getting along each other. You had the whole concept of, embodying the MLK phrase of you judge a man by his character, not by the color of his skin. That was the accepted rhetoric. That was what everybody believed. That's what I grew up believing. We all grew up being happy to see interracial couples marry. We grew up fans of alternate lifestyles, but they didn't supersede the general lifestyle. They weren't able to dictate what happened in culture. You weren't forced into adopting men into females' prisons. You weren't, if you're a gay man, you weren't forced into adopting two-spirit people and trans people and non-binary pansexual cat dressing Eskimos into your group. Otherwise, you're told that you're a racist and a bigot. That was the time. And as we said, the pinnacle was also, we weren't in massive debt. We weren't, we were still engaging in wars, don't get me wrong. That never changes and never will change as long as central banking exists and allows politicians are allowed to exist in their current capacity with a overarching abusive federal government and the fact that we still have the IRS. But the culture may have just been at its pinnacle. I think, as they say, nature is healing. So, Scott Thompson, I salute you. Keep on running, you faggot. Keep on fighting those humorless queers. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to get back to my tuberculosis too. I encourage you, as I said, to buy Woke Word Wars. And don't forget, you can support our show. Please subscribe to our main podcast feed. Subscribe to Politics, our new podcast and show, which has me, Brian Nichols, Lou Perez, and John Odermatt on it. And don't forget to give us a review. I love those reviews. We haven't had a lot of reviews in a long time. So, guys, if you have a second, please drop in there on Spotify, on Apple. Write us a nice review, 5 stars. That'd be great. And also, if you did buy Woke Word Wars, it would really, really help as we're trying to get this game off the ground to get a review from you as well. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you. From me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. Pray for me. Hopefully, I will talk to you next week, and I will not be sick. All right.